Hey everybody, this is Yehudah Sunshine, head of PR at Odix. I'm here with Microsoft MVP Edwin Van Bouillon, and we're here to talk about how protecting yourself is protecting your clients. Edward, thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, and you. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Maybe you could start off with introducing yourself a little bit, discussing your background and your experience working with Microsoft products.
Sure. So my name's Edward. I'm almost a six-time MVP in Exchange, Office Apps and Services. Also a Windows Insider MVP. I've been working with Exchange for a very long time, since 5.5 has come out, and a range of other Microsoft products, ranging from SCOM to SCCM and the System Center suite, plus Active Directory and all the other security tools that go, with the Microsoft platforms.
Oh, wow. So very, very comprehensive understanding of the Microsoft ecosystem. So we're here today to really talk about your blog article that you wrote the other day called "Protecting Yourself is Protecting Your Clients." It's a discussion of MSP and CSP risk and vulnerability, and it's part of a larger series that Odix is producing in the form of an ebook. So what really got you interested in this topic and understanding the meat and bones of what MSPs and CSPs are addressing in the perspective of cyber risk?
I worked for Microsoft at one point as well, and working, with different clients and MSPs and CSPs, the biggest risk is that, we always say, do this or this, but we don't actually follow what we're actually saying. And that obviously affects the supply chain, if you think about it, where you could become a target, but because they want to target somebody else. And if you have a weak link in your chain, then obviously that's going to cause, the issue down the line. And you have to then answer the questions of why it happened to you and why you didn't actually protect yourself, compared to, preaching about why you're protecting others at the end of the day.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I mean, as we've seen in the news recently, and as more and more businesses are turning to external IT contractors to be able to run their data management, the risk is growing every single day. So maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the steps that MSPs and CSPs can take to decrease their attack surface and prevent risk and cyber risk to their clients. So I think maybe we could start talking about sensitive information like passwords over email. What's the risk of this, and what do people have to lose by sending the secure information?
Well, the thing is, normally attackers don't just go and compromise something, they watch. So they sit in the background, they go and look through emails. You might be chatting to a director and you say, yes, these banking details are sitting on this server. You can access all the information, or this is the password to your account. Let me know if you want to change, etc. And that gets leaked. And once they have the information, they can pretty much log in and start analyzing and creating backdoors. And obviously, the more elevated the privilege, the more access they can gain. And then obviously gets to a point where you get hit by the ransomware or a massive infection at the end of the day.
So very, very, very serious stuff. Do you think that it's such a clear line where you can tell everybody that they can never send this information? Are there some steps that people can take to insulate this information? Or do you think that it's really so cut and dry that the risk is so much that if they send secure and sensitive information and passwords over emails, that there's a good chance that they're going to get hacked?
Well, you do get stuff like RMail that encrypts the information end to end, but not everybody is aware of the tools that are out there that you can use that extra layer of protection if you want to send sensitive information. A lot of people are turning to WhatsApp or SMSs, etc., to send information, but again, it can be interjected on SMS per se, where they can hijack it. So it just comes down, to making sure the stuff is not just put out there for anybody to access or understand where it is at the end of the day.
So do you think that this is really like an employee education issue where employees don't necessarily have the level of cyber awareness? Because it seems like it's not as much as a technical thing, like not having the software or the technical component to prevent malware from coming into the system.
What I've seen, on end users is that they don't like complexity. Number one, they don't like the difficult passwords because it's too hard. They'd rather have a sticky note on their machine, that this is my password to my email, etc. Or they'll just ask the IT guy on email, please change my password to my dog's name at 123, for example. And there you have, information is already being exposed.
Oh no, you just found out my password. Don't tell anybody ever. It happens to the best of us. I think that we
It
all know
does.
that it's difficult to create multiple passwords and keep all the information together. And I think that something that your article really stresses is the importance of taking the difficult step. And it might be a little bit more work, but insulating yourself from the cyber risk can really protect you from some of the long-term costs. So kind of going into more of the technical side, what are some of the monitoring tools that IT companies and MSPs and CSPs can use to be able to better understand the traffic and access from their systems?
Well, number one is SolarWinds. Now we know that SolarWinds got attacked quite badly in the last few months, and it obviously had a knock-on effect to bigger companies, Microsoft and everybody else, including government agencies. But you get systems like SCOM, you get systems like LabTech, NetBots, which is an external kind of system which monitors not only just what's happening inside the systems, but also in the data centers. Is the heat going up because the CPUs are working harder? Why are they working harder, kind of thing. So there are those top five tools. I know there are many others in there. I haven't tested all of them, but definitely having an insight of what traffic is going where, why is one system acting abnormally compared to others, will obviously give you the starting point to start investigating. An interesting one is malware that a client had, basically which run on a schedule. So PowerShell would boot up, it would run its payload, do its Bitcoin mining, but it would never switch off. So the CPUs be running 100% continuously, and obviously that brings down everything else.
Yeah, for sure.
So a flaw in their system, but it actually made a way for us to find it.
Very, very interesting. Do you think that there's a balance between the technical component and a consistency element from the IT team in being able to go back to these touch points and see if there's something that's out of whack or seems a little bit unusual? Or do you think that the technical component and the tool itself can be enough to alert the relevant persons or people, excuse me?
I think at the end of the day, not just having the tools, but also being vigilant. If you understand your customers, you know what to look for. If you understand your systems, you know how they are supposed to behave, and anything out of the ordinary will obviously start, making you think, let me start digging a bit deeper, because why is my exchange system so slow? Or why are my systems running at such a high capacity when they shouldn't be? Just forgetting about it or thinking that nothing will happen because I don't have internet access, should still make you want to put the systems in place, because, any door into the environment is a door in. And once they're in, they can pretty much do anything that they want.
Yeah, it's definitely not a joke and something that people very much need to take seriously. So kind of going into the next kind of logical step for being able to monitor what's going on, we all know that the email gateway is a huge vector for malware, and it's 94% of malware coming through email attachments. It's really the way that hackers are getting into the system. So what do you think are some of the best tools and the best methods to be able to remove malware from email attachments and for users to be able to be insulated from this cyber risk?
The thing is, end users are, I wouldn't say they turn a blind eye, if you want to call it, because number one, you and I know if I get a banking statement from Bank X, I don't bank with Bank X, but for them, it's just like a normal day. Oh, yes, open the attachment and I get an infection. Then it's too late, because then the machine's compromised. Or the machine is now idling with the ransomware or the payload waiting to exploit at a certain time whenever they want to, the bots to run, etc.
Days, weeks, years, and months even, yeah.
The big key is education. Some of these attachments, and I've seen some of them, the emails look so legit. It looks like it's coming from Microsoft. Your 365 account has a problem, please click here to reset the password, or else it's going to expire in 24 hours. And unfortunately, people still click on the links, and then what happens, it's got a knock-on effect. So more vigilant and, raising awareness at the end of the day, there'll always be one or two that will really make you think about it. But if at the end of the day they come and they say, listen, I'm getting these funny things, are they legit? Can you look at blocking them? And it comes to the question is, what can we do to block it? So you've got odix, which, and I've tested it well, embedded exes in the files and that, and it still blocks it. You've got Microsoft's, obviously, ATP, and then you've got other filtering systems, Mimecast, Semantic, and all that you can also leverage on. And you'll be amazed at how much actually gets blocked, even though it looks legit. It's coming from Microsoft, it's coming from a bank, but it's not actually, because the address has been spoofed. So the systems are becoming more and more intelligent, and I think AI plays a big role here as well, because it can then start, being the front line and saying, listen, that you're not legit, let's, do something about it. So odix going in the right direction, and I think will continuously, improve. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying as time goes by, because hackers become sophisticated, they see a system, they're going to try and bypass it. So it's going to continuously improve and become better and better and better. And at the end of the day, we might not block everything because it's not 100% foolproof, but at least education and the systems in place will at least alleviate a lot of that pressure on the end users.
Kind of going off of that point, Edward, I would wonder maybe you could touch a little bit about people's apprehension towards implementing third-party softwares and third-party security processes and add-ons to be able to beef up native deployment. Do you think that there's a specific place for third-party solutions? Do you think that they can complement native level deployments? What do you think the relationship is there?
I think the one complements the other one because, like I say, they are always developing. So having a third-party add-on is like basically another layer of insulation. It's like almost like a second firewall. They've got through the first firewall, but the second one's blocked it. So it does complement. And I mean, Microsoft's ATP and that is a massive product. It's not just a small, click 1, 2, 3, it's done. And some of the guys don't really understand how to use it end to end, and adding on something extra to add that extra layer of protection for users, I think is definitely worth it at the end of the day.
Very interesting. And maybe you could also touch on the core Microsoft technologies for email security are based off of Sandbox, correct? So what are some of the benefits of Sandbox technology and some of the limitations that can be augmented or optimized using third-party solutions?
Well, I mean, sandboxing is great, if you know how to use it. If you're like an IT guy like you and me, and we deal a lot with stuff, we can test it and see. I just think there's a lot of more room there that we can, play with at the end of the day. From the sandboxing, it's just we need time. The more time we have, like the hackers do, and spend, we can make the products more and more, better and harder for them actually to bypass at the end of the day.
Very, very interesting. So kind of in an extension of what you're talking about here in trying to be able to build that awareness, what do you think the importance should be placed on patching and using existing solutions to rectify known malwares? Because we know that there's a lot of different malicious threats out there, but at the same point, we know that the IT community has spent a lot of time patching it up. Do you think that there's a lag? Do you think that people are not actively applying these patches and kind of falling into some of the known malware threats that they've come into contact time and time again? What do you think this risk is?
It's multiple things. Like some people say, why patch something when it's not broken? That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you're dealing with a couple of 100,000 machines, you still have to go and patch them. And that becomes obviously, if it's not automated, it becomes like a mundane task. Generally, what I like to do is I have a lab in Azure, and I like to test, all the patches that come out, and obviously based on the testing after the first patch Tuesday every month, it then gets released to the machines. We saw today again that Microsoft released a whole bunch of patches for Exchange, zero-day exploits, just like the Active Directory one last year, August, where if you weren't patched to a point, or you were running RTM, for example, they could go and check, you're not patched, I can run the payload, exploit your system, and render your system useless. Patching has always been a sore point. I mean, nobody likes to patch, but at the end of the day, if you keep your systems up to date, the monthly patches are a lot less to do than trying to catch up 2 years worth of patching if you are behind. And the risk of blue screening, which what I've seen, when you're coming from an RTM version, it's there because you are so far behind, unfortunately.
So how do you think the IT community and the powers that be can make patching a little bit sexier and more interesting, or more consciously relevant to the people who could see this as a tedious task like you're talking about?
Automation, obviously you're going to go and test first, but you get applications like SCCM, so System Center Configuration Manager, where you can deploy the updates, and it enforces a reboot on machines, and your servers you can schedule to reboot. You get patching like LabTech. LabTech also does patching. I'm sure SolarWinds does patching and upgrades as well. So the systems are there. It's just getting them to streamline it for you, and just taking that extra step and having that lab to test with, because people don't like testing because they only have a production environment. And the problem is, if you take down production, it's loss of revenue at the end of the day, which is the key thing.
Yeah. Very interesting. I mean, from my perspective, reading your article and kind of going through your background, it's fascinating to hear how these MSPs and CSPs have so much risk, and at the same point, there's so many viable solutions to be able to decrease the tangible risk that they're facing, and there's a range of tools and methods that can be able to empower the staff to gain greater transparency and better understanding of the threats that they're facing. So kind of closing off here, what do you think the big picture idea that you would tell MSPs and CSPs in trying to decrease their attack surface and really going to the core of why protecting yourself is protecting your clients?
At the end of the day, it's, even though we are IT people and we understand a lot, we need to educate. And I mean, educating, a lot of people, learn new things every day. So the more we educate and the more that we do that we say we should do, mitigates the risk. So if we know that we're running software that hasn't been patched in 2 years or 3 years, or there's a major bug that needs to be fixed and has been fixed, but you're still deciding when to patch it, you need to obviously get it done. And if there's downtime, at least the downtime is there because you are mitigating a risk. If you don't do that, then you're introducing the risk to your clients that are sitting below you, because if you get attacked or compromised, unfortunately their data sits in your platform, so they will also get compromised. Now, I mean, patching, yes, we've seen it over the years. Some of them have caused issues, but at the end of the day, if you can test it, great, because then you can roll it out. And when Microsoft and SolarWinds and all the others release these critical patches to close holes, you need to do it because you need to understand the severity of it, not go, maybe I'll do it next month. You need to do it now, because you need to think the risk down the line is going to cost me more than patching my systems at the end of the day.
Yeah, very, very interesting. As a security vendor ourselves, we're always in this balance trying to tell customers and clients the value that our technology can have, but we're always fighting against that, that never-ending battle. Are they taking the extra steps themselves? Are they using the existing and legacy systems to their advantage and to their optimum potential? Or are there all these gaps that are growing and growing by the moment, and our technology is something that's kind of just put on top? So it's always interesting to hear this perspective, and we really appreciate your time. For people who are listening out there, how could they follow you on social media? Where can they read some of your content and kind of see what you're doing on the interweb?
So I'm on Twitter. My handle is just EdwardVBS. I do have 2 blogs, everythingpowershell.com and collaborationpro.com. And then I also write a lot for TechGenix and Experts Exchange. And I also have a YouTube channel. YouTube, obviously, I also showcase live zero-day exploits and what they do, and how you can mitigate them. So I have a number of channels that they can get me on.
Great. So thank you so much for your time. We're really excited to have this collaboration, and we look forward to talking to you soon and discussing the next chapter of this ebook. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us. If you have any questions, comments, or just want to talk, please reach out to me at Yehudah, YEHUDAH, at odi-x.com. And please, please, please stay tuned. We will be broadcasting early and often. Be well, everybody. Have a good night.